everyone. I'm Hugh Warren, and I'd like to welcome you to Dunn, the best place under the sun. For the next half hour, we'll take a look at Dunn's past as well as its present, and soon you'll see why the citizens of this area are so proud to be a part of Dunn, the best place under the sun. This program has been brought to you in part by Food Lion. Dynateria Incorporated of Dunn is proud to be a part of such a great city. Dynateria is one of the many rapidly growing businesses Dunn is proud to have. Happy 100th birthday, Dunn, and many more to you from Dynateria Incorporated of Dunn. Happy birthday, Dunn, from Betsy Ross Fashions. At Betsy Ross Fashions, you can get quality fashions at better prices. They're now located downtown on Broad Street across from United Carolina Bank. In the late 1800s, more and more Americans lived in rural areas. It was the age of dirt roads, hand pumps, and the Saturday evening bath. But a new age was coming. More and more Americans were moving from farmlands to an urban and industrial way of life. Small towns were popping up everywhere. The reason? Railroads. Transportation in the 1800s was limited to trains, horse-drawn carriages, and feet. Contact with the outside world was virtually impossible, but the railroads would soon change that. Tracks were spreading all across the country. It was a policy of the railroad at that time to place depots approximately 7 miles apart along the tracks. In 1886, a shortcut railroad was completed, which ran from Wilson to Fayetteville. A strip of land all the way across Harnett County was deeded to the Wilmington and Weldon Railroad, and soon after completion of the tracks, the Dunn Depot was established. I'm parked on the spot where the first depot was built in Dunn. As you can see, it's no longer here. It's been replaced by a parking lot, which is now used as a hangout for local teenagers on the weekend. This caboose was placed here by the town as part of the centennial celebration. It's a replica of the temporary depot that was used until the actual building was erected. And it was on the caboose that the first sale of lots took place in the town of Dunn. Soon after the town of Dunn was blocked off, a petition was made to the North Carolina General Assembly to enact a law incorporating the town of Dunn. The Assembly ratified the law on February 12, 1887. The first mayor of Dunn was Julius J. Wade, but he didn't want the job and soon resigned. He was succeeded by Major James Pearsall, who served in the Home Guard of the Confederacy. After the dust had settled and law and order were in hand, the town began its long road to success. One of the main reasons for that success was the church. Religious beliefs were strong then and continue to play a big part in the town of Dunn today.
The First Baptist Church was organized in Greenwood Schoolhouse at Greenwood Cemetery at the gazebo in 1885. And when the town was chartered in 1887, they moved the church to the city limits, the original city limits of Dunn, and it met over top of James A. Taylor's store until they could construct a little wooden church next to the alley where the church is now, on that alley, away from the streets, and they stayed there until the brick church was built in 1913 or 1914. That was the first church in town. It was not the first church that was organized in the city limits, but it was the first church in Dunn, and it was also the first church building that was in Dunn.
Education has always been a major concern for the citizens of Dunn. The first schoolhouse was located in the center of what is now the Greenwood Cemetery. The school was called Pope's Schoolhouse, named after Mr. Henry Pope, who owned the property where the one-room school stood. In 1907, an 8-room brick building was erected. This was the first graded school in Dunn, and in 1911, Dunn High School graduated its first class. In 1913, the building was enlarged, but with a growing population came the need for a second building, which was located on Magnolia Avenue. In 1926, a beautiful 23-classroom building was erected on Orange Avenue. This new Dunn High School lasted almost 60 years and gave many children an excellent education. In 1985, a new high school was built for not only Dunn, but 2 other area cities. The students from Irwin, Coates, and Dunn are joined together at Triton High School. Triton is a sign of continuing growth for the city of Dunn. Family homes are a big part of Dunn's heritage. I'm standing on the steps of the Kenneth L. Howard home, now known as the Women's Club of Dunn. This 2-story colonial is the only dwelling in Dunn now on the National Register of Historic Places. The first frame house built in Dunn was by Mr. Henry Pope. Most of the early homes built in Dunn were spacious 2-story structures with front porches, which were equipped with swings and rocking chairs. A few of these beautiful homes are still standing in Dunn. It was in one of these homes that Dunn's first hospital was started. In 1923, a group of medical doctors from the area started this health facility in the Lofton A. Tart home. It was not a glamorous hospital, but served its purpose well. In 1940, a hospital was constructed on North Ellis Avenue. The new Dunn Hospital provided the citizens of Dunn with the best of medical care, which for many years was only available in other cities. This building is still standing and is now the Charles Parrish Memorial Nursing Home. In 1968, the hospital that serves Dunn currently was dedicated. Betsy Johnson Memorial Hospital is still providing Dunn with proper medical care and facilities, a medical facility among the best in the state. Recreation has always been a big part of Dunn. It got national attention back in 1916 when Herbert B. Taylor started the Knee Pants League. And this baseball league provided fun for the kids, but not only that, it instilled character within them. It became so famous that Mr. Taylor and the boys were invited to the White House to meet with President Truman on the White House lawn. When we return, we'll tell you about Dunn's most famous citizen, General William C. Lee. This portion of the show is brought to you in part by Morganite of Dunn and Betsy Johnson Memorial Hospital. Happy 100th birthday, Dunn. This past summer, the city of Dunn opened this museum. Now, it was the home of General William C. Lee, father of the airborne. Lots of hard work, lots of effort was put into restoring this beautiful landmark, and the citizens of Dunn have something to be proud of. This home is one of Dunn's most beautiful structures, and it seems only fitting that Dunn's most famous citizen lived here. The name of General William C. Lee has become immortal among the military men of this nation. His contributions in the 2 world wars gave him worldwide fame. He earned the title of Father of the Airborne when he conceived the idea of fighter paratroopers. Last summer, the city of Dunn gave just tribute to General Lee with a week full of activities being topped off with the dedication of the General Lee Museum. The celebration brought many state and national dignitaries to Dunn, including the Honorable James Martin, who had this to say about General Lee.
General Lee truly deserves this expression of our affection. His was a life devoted to creating a corps dedicated to ending aggression and oppression throughout the world, and by his example, he taught us all that a soldier's pack is not so heavy a burden as a prisoner's chains, that to be an airborne soldier is to fight harder, march farther and faster, and to face any task with courage and gallantry. So long as airborne exists, we will cherish the memory of General Lee as its founder and most ardent advocate. What we do here today will assure him and his creative genius a permanent place in the history of our great military leaders.
The festivities began with a bang as an afternoon in the park was enjoyed by all. Later in the week, a memorial ceremony was held at the gravesite of General Lee. A parade filled with military splendor preceded the formal dedication at the General Lee Museum. Secretary of the Army Jack Marsh had nothing but praise for General Lee as he spoke about the important role the general played in our nation's history.
In many ways, you are the great airborne state of our country. We thank you for the enormous support and help that has always been forthcoming to our soldiers. And we honor here today a great North Carolinian, a graduate of ROTC, a combat veteran of World War I, who would become a regular Army officer. It was his intellect, his vision, his dedication, and his hard work that would turn a concept into a reality. That hard work struck him down as the commanding general of the 101st Airborne Division just before the Normandy operation. But because of Bill Lee's efforts, we were able to develop and have developed today a magnificent capability for airborne operations and use not just in World War I, World War II, the paratroopers and the gliders, but today we use and have a whole panoply of airborne forces and airborne assault forces. This capability of General Lee would give our national planners in World War II another very powerful era in their quiver. American paratroopers would win their spurs, and they fought gallantly in Europe and in the Pacific. They earned their reputation, and they lived up to the perception that they had acquired, and it was a perception of being admired by their friends and respected and feared by their foes. Their efforts, as we reflect on World War II today, hastened the end of World War II. Today, they not only defend these United States, but our airborne forces, through their strength, help ensure the peace of an uneasy world. 42 years ago today, we assembled here to honor a great paratrooper of North Carolina, father of the American Airborne, William C. Lee. Not only did he have a rendezvous with destiny, he was an architect of victory and demonstrates that the lives of great men remind us that we can make our lives sublime and leave behind us footprints on the sands of time.
There's no question about it, General Lee is certainly a hero to the town of Dunn, but another prominent figure of military fame is Colonel Wastray Battle Boyce. She headed the Women's Army Corps in the latter part of World War II, and she was a graduate of Dunn High School and lived here for many years after that. And there's also a group of men that are famous all along the East Coast. Their contributions may not be quite as important as General Lee or Colonel Boyce, but they've been making kids as well as adults laugh for many years. I'm talking about, I guess you know by now, the legendary Dunn Clowns. When we return, we'll take a look at how this community celebrated its 100th birthday. United Carolina Bank has been serving the Dunn area for many years. In that time, they've earned the trust of many people. Happy birthday, Dunn, from a banking partner you can depend on. United Carolina Bank. For the very best in home-cooked meals and daily specials, visit Kim's Barbecue and Seafood. Open to serve you from 6 a.m. until 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. Happy 100th birthday, Dunn, from Kim's Barbecue.
I appreciate the chance to come here today and start the celebration for the centennial of Dunn. It is important. It is important for what you have done. It's important for the young people of today to understand that their heritage is something to be proud of.
That pride and heritage that Lieutenant Governor Bob Jordan spoke of was a common bond shared by the handful of people gathered at Greenwood Cemetery February 12th. For it was on that day that the city of Dunn was 100 years old.
At this time, I'd like to call on our Mayor, Ralph Barefoot, for just a couple of comments.
We're proud of each and every one of you. We're proud of what we're doing here for our future leaders. That's what it's all about. I'm just proud to be an American and to be a citizen of Dunn and work for the best interest of our citizens. Thank you.
As the centennial ceremonies continued, town historian Herman Green introduced a very distinguished visitor.
This town was named for the engineer that laid out the railroad and supervised its construction from Wilson to Fayetteville. His name was Bennett R. Dunn. And today we have a distinct privilege and honor to have a select person here who is the great nephew of the namesake of Dunn.
I'm Elmer Dunn, and my great uncle was Captain Bennett R. Dunn, and the town was named after him. I knew that my great uncle, the town had been named after him, but for years as a child, I had heard this from the time that I was young. And about a year ago, Dunn's historian, Herman Green, contacted me, and I I had a picture of my great uncle, and he needed that because he had just written the history of Dunn, North Carolina. So at that point, that is when really and truly I really became interested in Dunn, North Carolina.
Then to close this portion of the festivities, the Centennial Committee buried a time capsule. Included in the time capsule, many copies of Dunn's newspaper, The Daily Record, several books written by Dunn historian Herman Green, and various photographs and memorabilia from Dunn's past. Covering the copper capsule is a plaque bearing instructions for Dunn's Bicentennial Committee. The capsule is to be opened February 12, 2087. The town of Dunn grows, more and more businesses are stretching out to the suburbs and into larger shopping centers. Before we leave you, we'd like to show you some of the progress Dunn has made over the years. Dunn has come a long way from the days of dirt streets and cotton yards. Over the years, Dunn has expanded from the small area downtown to shopping centers and industries, which are all along the suburbs of Dunn. There are many changes that have taken place over the years, but the citizens of Dunn are still the same. They're still striving to be the best, always looking for ways to improve. Skinner and Drew Funeral Home, located on Broad Street, is a proud sponsor of this tribute to the great city of Dunn. Skinner and Drew Funeral Home would like for you to join with them in wishing Dunn a happy 100th birthday. This concludes our show, and we hope you've enjoyed it. The celebration is not over for this town, though. The Centennial Commission has planned many activities throughout the year, so come join us as we celebrate Dunn, the best place under the sun.